Alrighty, one of the main things that causes unsuccessful attempts at Yondan is dead energy. Now, what do I mean by that? It's very possible that you've watched Yondan demonstrations in the past at previous Shinza, and you'll notice quite often with the unsuccessful candidates that the energy between the two players, between the two candidates, is very flat, and there's too much distance. So therefore, it's unbelievable. Yeah, their interaction, it's difficult to believe it, and it ends up looking, unfortunately, it ends up looking quite amateur. Um, and this talks into one of the most important things that needs to be in your Kendo as you approach Yondan. And I'd like to share that with you in this video. Before I do that, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Adam Antoshevsky. I am the dojo leader of Inverness Kendo Club in the Highlands of Scotland. So, as I mentioned, it's about believability. And that believability comes down to a much more sophisticated, much more refined communication between the two players. And what do I mean by that? There is the concept seme-ai. Okay, so I, as I'm sure you know, is a mutuality. Seme is the pressure that we apply to be able to break our opponent's kamae in order to create openings so that we can strike. Okay, so seme is pressure. Seme-ai is when both players are applying seme against each other. Okay, this is the basis of the communication. And this specifically is what needs to be seen far more at Yondan, this communication here between the shinai, between the players. One of the best ways to enliven the energy between the two of you is to approach seme with kikentai noichi. So you seme with your ki, you seme with your tai, with your body, you seme with your shinai, you seme with all of these three things in unison, because that creates kiai, and that in turn creates kigamai. So your energy has a lot more potency. You're putting a lot more pressure forwards. You are focused much more onto your opponent. And your opponent is doing exactly the same thing. And then that energy is alive. There is true true connection between the two of you. When you have that, then you are playing at a higher level. That's what needs to be seen in your kendo. So thereafter, what we're looking at compared to Sandan in Yondan is we are looking at being able to control the situation. We've demonstrated we can control ourselves in Sandan. In Yondan, we need to control the situation. What this means is that during our interaction, during our communication at Shokkojin no Ma, if our opponent steps in to make a move, we close it down. We say, no, I'm not ready yet. No, 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 no. You can't have this one. No. You close it down, you regain control of center. You apply pressure. So you have to show that your side is on your terms, and you have to show that you are taking control of your opponent just as much, if not more. When you have this, you then control the timing of everything. And then you are able to execute Ojiwaza much more effectively because it happens on your terms, not on theirs. This is the essence of Yondan now. Controlling the situation, taking the initiative, and having a much more refined and much more sophisticated level of communication between yourself and your opponent. How can you do that in the dojo during Keiko. How do you practice that? How do you practice that when there are possibly no one else at your level or above you? What you simply do, what I did, is for the first minute of Jigeko with each person you do Jigeko with, don't do any strikes at all. Spend more time looking at controlling the situation. Spend more time practicing seme with Kiken Tainouchi. Spend more time looking at destabilizing their kamae, looking for cutting opportunities without putting the pressure on yourself to do the strike. Because the most important part of your demonstration for Yondan has got to be demonstrating control of the situation. So practice controlling the situation in Jigeko, in your dojo. That will put you in really good stead. No guarantees, of course, okay, but this is the thing that you need to work on in order to have more chance of success at Yondan, and perhaps more importantly than that, to actually make your own Kendo more sophisticated, more refined, more mature. I hope it helps. Good luck.